Reporting out of Forbes by Paul Tassi has confirmed some of the things I was initially worried about, which is that morale over at Bungie is at an all-time low. So, as someone that's been in the games industry and laid off a number of times myself, I figured now would be a good time to talk about what to do when you know your studio is going to get shut down. Hi, my name's Ojiro. I've been in the games industry since 2008, which was a lovely time to jump into the games industry. And I have, over the course of my career, been laid off only about six times. Um, like two times in a really short amount of time. I had a 2 year span where I worked at three different game companies. It was quite a time. And right now, Bungie is going through one of the worst kinds of layoffs that you're going to have to deal with in the games industry. Though I think this would apply to kind of anyone that is working a job, and that is, you're going to get shut down. You're just waiting. So I figured I'll give some of my experiences. 'Cause I've been in the same situation before where I had access to, our daily revenue, and I was like, this isn't covering our costs. And it was just a matter of time. So first off, whenever you think you're going to lose your job, get all your personal data off of your work computers. I think in general, you shouldn't have personal stuff that you just leave on your work computer. You should always back that up. But I think everyone, myself included, makes those mistakes where it's just like, oh, it's easier to just stick it in this documents folder for now. And usually it doesn't matter for a lot of these things. But if you're like doing your taxes on like your computer that you got for work, maybe back up those documents somewhere for your personal records. Another thing is always just to touch up your resume, touch up your LinkedIn. And in the case where uh, things are going to go down, it's always a good exercise to make certain notes about some of the things that you've done. Write down your accomplishments, things where it's like, oh, I was really proud of what I did here or there. If you came across weird technical issues that you overcame, write those down because those are things that you can talk about in an interview. If someone's like, oh, what's a weird issue you encountered? You can be like, oh, well, I encountered this weird issue with this engine or using this tool. This is how I overcame it. Because those kinds of stories are really important in the interview process once you get there. Um, and in the case where you've got Bungie, where the game is probably not getting delayed, more likely than not, I agree with some of the folks that have been talking about how probably Sony is looking at this as a vehicle to try and avoid a lot of the founders over at Bungie from cashing out these massive bonuses that they're supposed to be getting. But Bungie's not performing. So it's probably easier for them and cheaper to just have Marathon fail, and then they don't have to pay out all these executives hundreds of millions of dollars. So this is probably going to go out. Bungie, they have not been a good game developer for a long time. While they've had some relatively popular games that they have released, it's just not a good studio. The leadership is abominable. The individual contributors, a lot of them can probably be fine. I don't have any feelings on that one way or the other. I don't have a lot of visibility into the company. So, and in any company where you've got like 800 people working there, you're going to have people that are good at their jobs. I'm not going to say that all of them are bad, but even if you have some of the best people in the world, if your leadership is terrible, you're not getting any great work out of those people. Um, so in this case, where you've got something like Bungie, where the end is coming, at that point, it's a pretty good idea to start, applying to places and getting a feel, because generally you get a better salary if you move to a different company. Sometimes that's not the case. The job market right now is not very good. It's very much the ball is in the hiring manager's court, and not like the applicant, like it was back during the pandemic where every tech company was just hiring any warm body. And let's be realistic, for a lot of games jobs right now, a lot of investment money has dried up for a lot of game studios. AAA companies are not making successful games. Most of them are mediocre at best. So there is a very real possibility that if you're working in games, you should look at things that are games adjacent. If you're a software developer, maybe look into med tech. If you're an artist, maybe look into getting some kind of art role outside of video games. Look into those positions, kind of what they're looking for. And if you want to, you can try and look into those, doing something on the side to learn whatever skill would be required to get you into the door. It's a rough time. And you may just need to leave games entirely, at least for a while. I think there's so many people that work at these AAA companies where you've got potentially thousands of employees. And if all of those AAA companies shut down, there's not jobs for everybody. Like there's not this huge wave of AA studios that are willing to hire a tremendous amount of people. Like all of Sandfall Interactive for Clair Obscur, it was under 60 people for the whole company. Like the core team was like 30 people. So when you've got a place like Bungie with 800 folks there, if it shuts down, there's just not that many job opportunities for games. So you may want to look at leaving the industry entirely. And if you are passionate about making games, you have all the resources available to make, your own indie title on your free time. So like that is my recommendation. I do not recommend people go work in the games industry. It's extremely volatile. The pay's bad, the hours are bad. So if you really want to make games, you don't have to work in the games industry. It is easier than ever to make games on your own. And finally, the most important thing that I can recommend for people if they are in this kind of situation where you know the end is coming, it is inevitable. It's just a matter of time. Is to keep an eye on your mental health. I had this issue where I knew I was going to get laid off, and that waiting can really like get people depressed because you're still having to go into work. You get work done. It's not like your game's not performing, and you don't know when you're going to lose your job. Um, I had like a 6-month period where I knew we were going to all lose our job. It was just a matter of, is it also gonna, I was like, well, I'm more on the build and release side. Are they gonna have me around, or are they gonna outsource me to our studio overseas? And I got outsourced. I got my severance, which was decent, and I was happy for like a day. And then the day after, I was like, man, I'm still depressed, even though I had like interviews like pretty quickly lined up. It didn't fix that issue. I find I recommend to everyone, whether you work in games or not, but especially if you're working like behind a desk and sitting down a lot, get exercise in. Try and get some sun if you can. Maybe you get an indoor treadmill. I have an under desk treadmill that I'll use every so often just to get some cardio in. I wasn't able to even pull it out of the closet for a number of months there while I was still recovering. But I'm back at it now to get that exercise in because it's something that's really impactful to your mental health, and it's especially important if you have a family, if you're the main breadwinner, like I am in my case, to keep yourself in a state where you have the mental acuity to actually go about and find a job and get work done. Because if you are in a deep depression and you're applying to places, like you're going in with a huge debuff, and that's not good for you. It's not good for your family. It's just all around bad. And I imagine in the case of some place like Bungie, you've got a number of people that have worked there for like a decade that are saying, well, the severance should be really great. So I want to stay and, ride it out and get that severance. And that may be true. Um, I, I treat the idea of getting severance from a company like rolling the dice. You may get good severance, you may not. Generally, when a company is worried about a good severance package versus not, it's a question of, is that company still going to be around in the future? If the company is still going to be around, then it's important to give a good severance package because you want to make sure that people understand that if they stay, if they're not laid off, that it's going to, like, they have the ability to get a nice package in the future. But if you're looking at a studio closure, it kind of doesn't matter. If we look over at, I think it was Telltale Games. They did like some Walking Dead games and so forth. But when they shut their studio down, the uh the CEO brought everyone in and basically said, "Hey, this is the end of our journey," and just sent everyone home. They got no severance. They didn't get any insurance past like the existing month that they were in. Everyone was just hosed. I don't think a place like Sony would do that because it would reflect badly on them with their other studios. We would just all the other studios would see that and they'd say, "Oh, well, if we screw up and if things are looking bad, we're going to get nothing." So with the big place behind, like with backed by Sony or Microsoft, you're probably fine. Don't have to worry about that. But if you're at a smaller studio where you have maybe a dubious publisher, or maybe you're not even, maybe you're, publishing yourself, keep in mind that this can happen where you are just cut off. The people that run these businesses are largely investors. So they're looking at cutting costs wherever they can. And there are a number of investors that just genuinely don't care about you. As far as they are concerned, for people that work at these studios that are underperforming, they're like, well, I'm paying you money and you're not giving me a return on investment. You deserve to lose your job. And if they're coming at it from that perspective, they could just say, hey, like, you're done. Here's 2 weeks. I don't care how many years you've worked here, or here's nothing. And GG, like, it's over. So keep in mind for those severance things, it may not come, or it may be very disappointing. And that is up to you to decide if you want to deal with it. I have rolled the dice a number of times. And I think the worst time for me was we knew we were going to lose our job. And then we were told, hey, you're going to interview with this other company and you're either going to get a job there or we're just going to terminate you because, how they had structured this thing where the company was going to get a bonus, like a hiring bonus, like a recruiter would get if we got hired into this company. They were going to lay off the people that didn't get an offer from that company. So they were like, well, we already planned to lay them off, but we know that you guys have gotten an offer from this company. So you either accept the offer and go there and we get our bonus, or you don't accept the offer. And the head of that company was a douchebag. He was basically like, well, then you're stealing money from me, so I should just fire you. Very big on firing people that displeasured him. So we took that offer. We were in a conference room talking to the company, and they were like, yeah, your CEO's a douchebag. And then they got a text message, and they were like, hey, your CEO called our venture capitalist investor, and our VC guy agreed that if you guys don't accept the offer, we're never allowed to hire you in the future. So we were like, okay, so we either accept the offers now as they stand and, start the new job in the next couple of weeks, or we don't accept it. And then we go back to our old office, collect our things, and we're just fired. It was a thing. It is what it is. But that's really all I want to talk about here. It's I don't really have anything new to add other than the fact that Marathon's doomed. Bungie's probably doomed. But I figured this was a nice opportunity to talk about some of the more somber parts of these things, which is looking out for yourself and, making sure your family's taken care of. And it's not a fun thing to have to deal with. I know a lot of people are going to be watching this video and they're like, I hate the whole company because they're all terrible. And don't get me wrong, like probably half the people that are working at Bungie are going to have to leave the games industry forever, because we've got a lot of people in AAA that they don't care about gamers. They actively hate them. They don't care about their consumers. They don't get good work done. There's a lot of specialists, like these one-trick ponies that work at some of these game studios that they're never going to make a return on investment for what they're doing. Like there's so many folks that I've worked with where when I understand their job better, I'm like, why? I could automate you if you just give me 2 weeks to like write the tools to push the buttons that you do. or individuals where their whole job is just to make meetings so that they can justify to be like, well, I had all these meetings where here's some documents that you're not going to read. Yeah, well, I'll put them up on Confluence and then you can review what we've been talking about. And they're just worthless. Well, no, I'm sorry. They're not worthless. Worthless would imply that there's like zero value. They actually take value away. So a lot of these big companies, especially in AAA, they are filled with these folks that they're just parasites. Like there's no other good way to put it. They're not there to add value. They're there to subtract it. And for those folks, they're going to leave, and it's going to be no love lost. I wish them well in the next industry that they work in. It should just not be in games. But there's also a lot of people that have a lot of passion that actually care. And for those folks, I wish them the best. It's going to be rough. Just take care of yourself. Even if it's not Bungie in this case and you're working at some other place and like you're in a bad spot, take care of yourself. Look out for yourself. Yeah, I guess that's all I got to say for now. If you all have had similar experiences or you have other suggestions on like things that you think would help someone out in these kind of situations, definitely throw something in the comments. It's always good to have more people share their thoughts and opinions on it because like it's just more data for us all to kind of go over and kind of see how we can look out for ourselves and providing for our families. But that's all for today. Thank you for dropping by, and I hope to see you all again in a future video. Farewell.